Got something to say. Confessions of reject.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Rebecca.
I'm Rachel.
And this is our podcast, Confessions of a Reject. And we've got a lot of different topics we've got in our bag, but there is a series that we do want to target a little bit, and it is
Lies we believe.
and tell ourselves. And that is a lot, especially with our culture and all these crazy things happening on social media, our movies, our readings, our books, our music, everything that goes around and comes around. And it's just insane, the things that we start to absorb and not realize are being influenced by, and it actually starts to change our mindset a little bit. We've recognized it a lot in ourselves when our flesh starts fighting the Holy Spirit within us, and we're sitting there going, what is going on inside my head right now? I don't understand why I'm having so much doubt, why I'm not sticking to the faith and the truth of God's word and his promises, and holding fast to that. Why is it so hard to do that right now? And one of the things is we're recognizing is that you're being brainwashed. A lot of people are saying it now. A lot of people are waking up. We are being brainwashed. It's our media, it's our movies, it's our books, it's our music. And we really have to be careful with what we're taking in, because it is affecting our foundation of our faith and our belief in God's truth. And it is insane. So just keep in mind, whatever you do, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. Whatever you're watching, make sure it's influencing you in a positive way. Is it causing you to doubt your faith? Is it causing you to question God's goodness? Is it causing you to be discouraged and lose hope? If it is, enough of that. Cut it out. Be done. So, we wanted to get to is line number 1 that we have on our list.
And by the way, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're good. There are so many parts to this series. It's insane. So many lies that we're going to cover. It's overwhelming.
Alright, line number 1. There is only one person out there in the world for you. And what do you have to say about that first?
Oh my gosh. It's a lie. I've always been kind of growing up, you kind of have that mentality a little bit, especially in church. But when you're old enough to date, and you're just looking for your friends for advice, or your parents, or whoever it is, and you always question that because your time hasn't come yet. And so you're like, well, is there only one? Could there only be one? And it's not true that there's only one, because there's so many people out there. You can stress yourself out if you have that mentality of thinking, because then you're like, well, is it that person? Is it him? I don't really know. And you just stress yourself out instead of just being patient and relying on God to direct your paths to come together in that area.
And I'd also say with that path, there is not this mentality of a dot theory is what it's called actually and there's teachings about this within the church, that there's only one way to go. Now, the only one way to go is trusting Jesus, that he died on the cross for you to be clothed in righteousness, for you can be reconciled with God for eternity. That is the one way. But this other thing that's happening in the church that's being taught is it's almost like you're on these stepping stones. and you're on stepping stone number 1, and there's 2 going different directions, and there's still the one that's going straight. So you have options. And they're saying that if you choose the wrong stepping stone, you're going out of God's will. You're stepping out of his will. Well, that's not a thing.
No.
We don't step out of God's will unless we're constantly living in sin and, just not living in a way God would, be glorified through you and shining, and that's just, God's will is perfect, and nothing surprises him. Nothing takes him by surprise at all. It's not just like, oh, I didn't know they were gonna do that.
God knows every thought that enters our mind.
He's absolutely 100% sovereign, which means every single choice we decide still is ordained by him. He still knows what we're gonna choose.
That's
Even
what I
if-
was gonna say.
It's not like this. I know that there's all these movies
I
and
know.
things of like the alternate realities and
What if this happened and not this?
yeah,
And,
there's all kinds of what ifs, but God knows every single one.
and that's a danger zone of the what if.
Oh yeah.
Because you can get in so much trouble with that.
Mm-hmm.
You not only stress, but you can fall into like depression and anxiety and just not be yourself, or not even taking the risk to talk to someone about Jesus because you're like, well, what if they say this? I don't know the answer to that. That's okay. You can say, I don't know, but can I get your number so when I do find the answer after I talk to so-and-so, and I can send you the answer if there is an answer, because sometimes there isn't an answer.
That's
It's
true.
just literally, I don't know.
There's some
Only
things,
God knows.
Yeah, there's some things that are beyond us that we will never understand, that are about God, that we can never comprehend with our feeble minds. We just can't. And we have to accept that fact. We cannot know everything.
Even
We
though
just-
we want to.
We want to. We want to be in control of everything. We want to know everything. We want to know the future. We want to see it all, know it all. And it's just not, no. We're just not built for that. We're not made for that. We're made to glorify God in what we do and who we are. But back to the dot theory thing is that, so it's like she talked about, it stresses a lot of people out because they go, what if I wasn't supposed to buy this house? What if I was supposed to buy that one? What if I wasn't supposed to take that job? What if I was supposed to stay where I was at? And it
What
starts...
if I was supposed to move or not move or go on this vacation?
Exactly. Oh, no, now I stepped out of God's will. Now I gotta get back in. It stresses you out. And we're not supposed to be stressed. We're supposed to have peace. We're supposed to have the self-control of a quiet mind and a quiet spirit inside of us. And when we start panicking and creating anxiety in those things, it's just insane. We're not supposed to be doing that to ourselves.
What's the cast your cares on him for he cares for you? Yeah.
Yep.
So why are we doing this
Cast
to ourselves?
all your cares.
All your cares.
All your cares upon
Every
him.
single one of them.
For he cares for you.
Yeah.
And he will bear that burden for you. Not with you, but mostly for you, because his strength is what we rely on to get us through things. So with the dot theory, I see it as this way, and some people may disagree with me, but it's like you have a plate of cookies. Yum.
I love cookies.
I know you do. You decorate a bunch.
Yeah.
There are chocolate chip, there are sugar cookies, there are peanut butter, there
Macadamia
are
white
macadamia white chocolate, there are your frosted sugar cookies. You have
Lemon
options. Lemon cookies.
Meringue cookies.
And she'll keep going.
I can
'cause
keep
she-
going. There are, there's brownie bite cookies.
She's
Never mind.
She's a baker expertise.
Oh.
And I'm a musician, so I have no idea. I just eat them.
It's delicious.
But anyways, there's tons of options. Now, all those cookies are good. There's ones you like better than others. But you still have the choice. And you're still eating a cookie. It's not going to make you sick. It's not like if you choose the wrong one, you're going to die. or you choose the wrong one. That's not the one God wanted for you. There are some questions of like, should I have done that? Should I have married that person? I know there's a lot of question about that, and if you choose that person, you need to choose to fight for that person. Don't let divorce come into the picture as much as possible. I do understand that there are circumstances, but God hates divorce. And if you have the opportunity to fight for your marriage, I would say do it. Do it. Do it. Fight hard and fight in love.
Yeah. I've watched several, like, YouTubers that are Christians that I really enjoy, and I always send them to her after I watch them, because I'm like, oh my gosh, they mentioned this, I love this, and all of this stuff. And I can't remember particularly which couple said it. Two of them could have said it, I'm not sure. But they said that there's no such thing as the one for you. It's you choose the one and you fight with the one for the one because you love the one. And it makes so much sense with that, because then that minuses all the stress, all the anxiety of being like, oh no, did I marry the right person? Da 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 da.
Did you pick the wrong cookie?
I don't love him anymore. All of this. And it's like, no, you made a commitment before God. You stood on that altar. You said I do in front of a pastor, ordained, whoever,
Friends
and
family.
before God. So that is a covenant between you, your husband, and God. And you always, no matter what happens, you fight for it. And it's not because, he changed. Everybody's gonna change. That's just how life is. I mean, I'm a completely different person from when I was 10. You're completely different from when you were 8. Yep. Or 20. So you change throughout the years. The different seasons, different valleys, different everything changes you. So if you marry someone and they change, well, you also change too. And you got to think in your mind of how you can serve and love them and take yourself completely out of it. Because if you're thinking selfishly and you're like, oh, but I don't love that person anymore, they don't do this for me, they don't do that for me, and you just think selfishly, you're going to be unhappy. Because that's not the point of marriage. No, it's not. You're supposed to love and serve the other person as Christ loves and serves you.
One thing I heard very recently, and I was just like, the second I heard it, my whole perspective of marriage was emboldened and encouraged of like, this is what God's designed marriage for. And it was an older pastor at our church, and he was guest speaking, and he said, marriage is a ministry. And I was like, what? Yes it is. That is a person you are committing to. We talk about discipleship where you're pouring into someone on a daily basis, encouraging them to follow Christ, encouraging them in their walk, helping them grow and be more like Christ each and every day. That is marriage. That is what we're supposed to be doing with our spouse, whether you are a wife and you have a husband, or you're a husband and you have a wife. You are to pour into each other. You pray together, you study together, you discuss spiritual issues together, you discuss regular issues together. You are in the trenches together, fighting for each other, fighting for your faith, and being sanctified and growing in your faith, in your belief, in your trust in God.
Because you are one.
Because
under God.
And when he just said that marriage is your ministry, I was like, yes!
Who was that?
I don't remember his name.
Oh.
He was
I remember that, but
he was a senior pastor at the church we're going to at Wedgwood.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember his name,
don't
but I remember what he looks like.
But it was just, that moment was just, I can't even describe it. I was sitting there in the seat just going like, yes, this is exactly what I know. This is exactly what I mean. This is marriage. This is exactly how it's supposed to be. you know, because we make it of like, it's to serve me, it's supposed to make me feel good, it's supposed to
Warm and fuzzy.
warm and fuzzy inside.
We're supposed to live happily ever after.
Well, yes and no. You know, there is happily ever after, but in that happily ever after, there is a lot of room for growth. And growth is painful. It was painful when you were kids, you know, the growing pains. That's why they're called growing pains, because they hurt. But as you go, you start to realize, you know, they actually weren't that bad. You know, but there are some fires and trials that are bad, but then you look back and you go, look at what God did. That was amazing. It made us so much stronger. That was incredible. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it sucked. Yes, it was horrible. But it has proven not just our faith, not just our strength and trust in God, but it also has drawn us closer together and drawn us closer to God. And, you know, it's just... marriage is a ministry. If you start seeing it that way, of I'm supposed to be pouring into this person, and it'll reciprocate a lot of the time, because it's like that with everybody. You be kind to someone, a lot of the times it's gonna start coming back to you where they're gonna be kind to you. You smile at someone, they react. They're gonna either go like, what the heck? Or, hi. They're still gonna smile. Not 99% of the time. There's times where I look and I'm just like, why did that person smile at me? I don't know them.
Yeah. Or a random wave.
Or a random
That
wave.
one is...
But you still wave.
Not all the time.
But you, usually, you acknowledge.
Sometimes.
You at least acknowledge that they...
Not... But... okay, hi.
But the reciprocation, it most likely will happen. And the whole mindset of marriage as a ministry, that will probably change your perspective of when you do get married, if you're single, or if you are married right now and you're, you know, starting to see things differently, or that person's changing and you don't like the way they're changing. Just think of it as marriage is your ministry. You're pouring into that person to help them grow, to help them be more like Christ. And again, the whole thing of there's only one person in the world out there for you. Okay, I have a problem with that saying too. Not just about the dot theory thing, but what happens when your spouse dies and someone gets remarried? You know, I know there's things in the Bible that, you know, there's like questions that arise because I don't remember if it does say that you're not supposed to remarry.
Oh, when you're a widow?
Yeah.
No, because you're not bound to them anymore.
Right, because it says
You till death do you part. Yeah, you can remarry and it wouldn't be sin.
Yeah, but just the whole thing, and there's only one person out there. No, I would say there's one kind of person out there. What do I mean by kind? I mean by their characteristics. Do they follow God? Do they work hard to build their faith? Do they serve in their church? You know, because a lot of people, they just go to church and they leave. They don't serve, they don't pour into the church in any kind of ministry. The characteristics of, like, I like reading when in 1 Corinthians 13, it's the whole love chapter. When you put your name in there, it starts to get you to recognize, like, am I really doing that? Am I really loving? You know, because it talks about love does not envy. Love does not seek any record of wrongs. And when you change love to your name, it creates a brand new perspective of Rebecca does not envy. Do I? Sometimes. I struggle with that. Rebecca does not seek any record of wrongs.
That's
one I struggle with too. Rebecca. What's the other one? I'm drawing a blank right now. Is Rebecca kind? Mostly.
patient.
Is Rebecca patient? Why do you laugh?
Because that's not me. Okay, I should clarify. It is and isn't.
We all struggle with it. We all come to the point where like, okay, I've been waiting for this for so long. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
I've been waiting for 5+ years.
It's not happening.
Where is it?
Where is it?
My time is ticking.
Come on.
Another year goes by. Why isn't it here? Another 6 months. Why is it still not here?
But just putting that in your perspective of putting your name in there. Are you loving? Are you patient? Are you kind? And those are the characteristics you want in your future spouse.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there. It's not just one guy, one girl. They're not. Because she and I, we have a lot of those characteristics. We know a lot of different people with those characteristics. And it's got nothing to do with us. It's got everything to do with the Holy Spirit refining us, making us more like Christ. And the more Christ like we become is the more characteristics of those things we will have, and they will shine through. And it's not just us. It's not just our family. It's not just our friends at church. There are lots of believers out there that are being sanctified and will have those characteristics. So the whole thing of there's only one person out there for you doesn't fit that, because there are a lot of people out there who have those characteristics. They want to grow in Christ. They want to work hard. They want to provide for a family, and they will do whatever it takes to provide for a family. They want to glorify God in everything that they do. They want to be honest as much as possible. They don't like deceit. They don't like lying. They want to serve others rather than serving themselves. They want to be gracious. They want to be merciful. They want to be loving. And they want to do whatever they can to help others. Those are the characteristics that you are wanting to look for in a future spouse. That whole thing of there's only one person out there for you, just put the word kind in there. There's only one kind of person in the world that we're supposed to be seeking, and that is a godly Christian, one who is actively serving, and one who is showing growth and sanctification. Because if the growth and the fruit are there, God's using that person, He's growing that person, and they are actively seeking God. Because that growth isn't going to be there if they're just like, you know, yeah, I'm a Christian, but, you know, it's whatever.
I only read the Bible on Sunday, maybe?
I've got the WWJD t-shirt that's stuffed in the back of my dresser, you know.
Bracelet.
I have a bracelet
Sticker.
too, you know.
Sticker on my car that I don't even, but I do road rage all the time.
And that's the other thing. Your fruit will prove what's coming out of you.
Yep.
You know, the fruits of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
Yep.
Those things will be pouring out of us if we are living in a way that glorifies God. And if we're growing, because just like fruit, those things start to develop inside of us. They start to grow. They start to shine more. You know, that person, I remember that person 2 years ago. Oh my gosh, they were always such a worrywart. They were always such a negative Nancy. And now look at them. Wow. They are just so encouraging now. They are just so fun and encouraging and uplifting to be around now. What happened? The fruits of the Spirit. They started growing inside of them. And they just started being more prevalent and shining through more, because they probably have been working on sin in their lives. Because if you don't work on that sin, you don't work to crush it, you don't work to have God change that sin and kill it inside of you, if you just give in to your flesh all the time, you're not going to have that fruit.
Right.
You know, and that flesh really likes to fight hard, especially when we're weak, especially when we're tired of fighting. That's when we have to dig our heels in and keep going and trust God. You know, these lies, they're all over, they're everywhere.
Right.
But just keep fighting. The truth is what you know, and what God says is true. What are you giggling at?
Nothing. Just continue. I'm sorry.
Now you threw me off.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Go. What?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Continue.
We do all
Sorry.
these unedited.
Yes. So I apologize. That was my fault.
We do them unedited because we don't want it polished. These discussions, we're gonna trip over our words when we talk with people. We're human. That's just what we do. And we get nervous or we start going somewhere and then it's like
We want to be raw and authentic as possible.
as much as possible. So that little tidbit is not going to be cut out as much as I want it to be.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
But yeah, so on that, comment below what you guys think. Is the one out there for you, or do you guys agree more of it's the one kind is out there for you? And like list down like characteristics or anything that you guys look for in a spouse, or your spouse is looking and growing into.
Also, to challenge yourself to grow,
Mm-hmm.
what characteristics you want to see in those people do you see in yourself?
Yeah.
And if you don't see those in yourself, what ones do you want to start seeing in yourself?
Right.
And if you also want to see them in that other person and you don't see them in you, I would strongly encourage you to work at that, to where you can see the same things that you want to see in others.
Yes. Good job. All right, see you guys in part 2.